Right. I am delighted to be here with a good friend and a pensions expert, Paul Littlewood.
Good to see
Paul,
you,
good to
Rashid.
see you. Just ahead of my workshop here today, so thanks very much for coming along. But I just want to take a little bit of time to chat to you about pensions, which is something that lots of people are very nervous about. They bury their head in the sand and about. We're recording this in April, so a new financial year, and there have been some big changes in the UK this particular year when we're filming this. But I just want to talk to you a bit generically about pensions. First of all, what is about pensions that seems to scare people? And is that a fair assumption for me to say lots of people are scared or that they bury their head in the sand?
I think with pensions, some people are scared,
Yeah.
and other people have got huge amounts of money view it as a great tax opportunity.
Right.
What I would say to you is, people don't want to think about retirement because it's a long time into the future, and actually they certainly don't want to think about having no income in retirement. So, like you rightly say, they bury their head in the sand. The vast majority of people understand, probably at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, that they might think, what am I doing with regards to my pension? I haven't got anything.
Right. And presumably, and I mean, well, and on that note, what struck me was that suddenly, I remember when I was 18, for example, I had my very first job, I joined an organisation that had a pension scheme, I joined it, and then there was some period of times where I wasn't working, and before you know it, you're older,
I mean,
and then before you forget that you haven't addressed it.
And it's one of those things, it's not a nice thing to have to set up a payment every month that leaves your account, particularly if you're living a certain lifestyle that might be spending everything that you've got.
Yes.
But it's even worse getting to 65 and having nothing for 30 years, and queuing up in oldies for the next 30 years. So I think what people, they do know they need pensions, there's absolutely no doubt about that. They push it to the back of the mind, but it pops forwards occasionally.
Yes.
What they should do is look to set something up as soon as they're able to. And I think the best thing for them to do is to firstly look at what they'd like to have as an income, secondly look at what contribution they'd need to make, and then thirdly think, okay, how close can I get to that? And it's probably not realistic to start with the highest contribution and deal with all the issues in one go. If you don't take the first step, you're never going to get there, because the longer you wait, the worse it is.
Right, so very briefly, for people who are employed at the moment, they might think, well, a lot of that is going to be taken care of for me. So if somebody is employed, any very just quick tip, so I know it's going to vary hugely, but if somebody's employed with a company where there is a pension scheme, just a couple of quick tips there first of all. Yeah,
well, the quick tip there is you should definitely join the scheme. I'm doing one of these from May the 5th onwards, after the bank holiday. You know, you'll see 42 people, they will all join the scheme. That's the first thing they should look at doing. If they're employed and they've got previous pensions from previous jobs, charges have been absolutely slashed, so they should look at getting those charges down, not necessarily within the company pension.
So they might need to take some advice. If they've got some pensions before, you're saying, and that they're in a new pension scheme now, how should they go about that? Do they need to see an independent expert, or can they chat to the pensions people where they work? Or?
Well, they should chat to the pensions people where they work, but if that person is just dealing with that scheme, they should probably chat with somebody they're comfortable with, either somebody that they've been referred to or they know. Right,
so you go out and you look for a financial, how does somebody, because lots of people don't know, lots of people are not lucky enough to know somebody. How would somebody go about finding somebody? You ask?
Well, normally they will try and find you, if you go to enough places, believe me. But in terms of if you don't know a financial advisor, you know, you must know somebody that has one. So the key thing to say is, look, I know you have a pension, Andrew, wherever it might be, is your advisor any good? If they say no, obviously you don't see them, but referrals are the best way of seeing somebody, or somebody you know. So if you play somebody at tennis, if you know somebody from the squash club, if you know somebody from wherever it might be, the Ramblers Association, that would be the best person, because somebody that you know and you see.
And you can take that recommendation. For people who, and I know this is just a kind of whistle-stop tour, but for people who now are their own boss. And it's interesting, I love the point where you said that some people happen to have a lot of money, and they're already mindful about it, and that there are pension, you know, the benefits, there can be benefits, financial benefits in terms of having a pension. But for people perhaps early stages, lots of micro business owners, like the people who are going to be coming along here today, what tips there? Because of course you moved perhaps from being employed where you may have had a pension to being your own boss. Just a few general tips there.
Well, I mean, for those people, I think the first tip will be any pensions they've built up previously, to look at them and see if you can get the charges down. They're very much more on their own 2 feet than people in a big company. But I think before they start looking at the pensions, when you start a business, you need to understand what level of revenue you're bringing in, what the profit is. You might need to have expenses. So firstly, get your business fully established, and it might be that you step back from it for a year or two. If your business flies straight away, then deal with it and get the pension. If it doesn't, come back to it once you're comfortable doing it. But don't be too kind to yourself, because if you give yourself 15 years off,
the income, and that's probably the problem that you've highlighted, that if you do take those, that you're just not going to have the level of income that you wanted. I really like the fact that you say, for example, think about that level of income that you're wanting, think about what contributions you can realistically make and take from there, and presumably don't be afraid to go out there and seek out that person or who you can have a chat to.
I think you probably need to, with the pensions becoming more complicated, and the charges coming down, and the vast majority of funds you can go into, it does make sense to see an advisor. If I was to try and put up some blackout curtains, which I'm aiming to do, did that myself, it would be a catastrophe.
So, don't block it out. One last thing, because there's been lots of change in terms of financial service with the industry and so on, what kind of things should somebody look for when they're going for a financial advice? Because again, there's all sorts of concepts, isn't it, around finance, and the whole financial industry hasn't had a good name in recent years. So how does somebody find a good one?
It definitely hasn't. So if you're going to looking to find a good financial advisor, you've almost got to think, what wouldn't you want? So if somebody cold calls you and books you in, that person probably hasn't got a great degree of accountability to you. They'll take the business, but really it's a strange way to get a client. Whereas if you know somebody, or they've been referred to you, or they look after a group of people that you know, that person's quite accountable. So if I sign somebody up from the tennis club and I do a terrible job for that person, I'm going to have to be sneaked into the tennis club and sneaked out after the game. So
that recommendation, that connection is going to be important, because then you know they're accountable and that they'll likely to have that personalised service.
Yeah, it's like a lot of my clients. So if I was to do a bad job, you wouldn't get them all together once a month as I did for some time.
Any other quick tips just before we close about that?
Check the qualifications that you've got, so make sure they're fully qualified.
And presumably, is the one, Paul, about just making sure that they speak, I think when you're getting any kind of advice, that they speak plain English and that they're able to explain to you in terms that are really important, because you need to feel comfortable, right?
Yeah, there are two types of financial advisor. There are three types actually, but you've got one type that will specifically make a very straightforward concept seem difficult.
Right.
And that makes the person think, I need this guy's advice. And you have another one that will make a difficult concept seem easy. And you can do either, basically. I think the best way to do it is to have somebody that you actually understand what they're saying. And they can help you, because it's not their money that's going into the pension. And it's not their pension that he's got, so it's about getting you to think about your own situation.
Wow, Paul, that's been fantastic, really fantastic advice. I really want to thank you very much, and I'm glad that you're going to be here today in the workshop. I suspect lots of people are going to be seeking you out. So thank you very much. I can leave you to smile and look at the camera whilst I turn off the camera. And thank you so much. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Rashi.